It was the night of the annual Starlight Gala, a grand affair where the wealthiest and most influential families of the town gathered to celebrate their status. For most, it was a night of glamour, but for Leela, it was a night that would change everything. Leela stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the delicate red ribbon in her hair. It was a gift from her older sister, Clara, given to her years ago when they were children. Clara, the perfect sister, the one who always knew what to say, how to make people smile, and how to get whatever she wanted. Leela had always been the shadow, the one who would fade into the background, ever quite good enough to outshine Clara. But that night, Leela had plans to change that. Tonight, Clara was going to notice her. Tonight, Leela would finally be the one in the spotlight. Leela and Clara had always been close, in the way siblings were, one always a step ahead, the other forever catching up. But somewhere along the way, things had shifted. Clara had become more than just the beautiful, charming older sister. She had become the heart of the family, the heir to their father's fortune, and most painfully for Leela, the woman who had won the heart of Daniel. Daniel had been Leela's first love, but Clara had always been better at everything, even love. Daniel had fallen for her when they were both teenagers. Leela had watched from the sidelines as her sister effortlessly swept him off his feet. Despite her heart breaking, Leela had never said anything. How could she? Clara was flawless, and Leela, she was just Leela. It wasn't until years later, when Daniel returned to town after college, that Leela began to think there was hope for her. Clara had been in Paris on business, and Daniel had started coming around to visit their father's estate. Leela had seen him more than once, and the sparks between them were undeniable. They talked, laughed, shared secrets, and for the first time in her life, Leela felt like she could be seen, not just as Clara's little sister, but as someone worth noticing. That night, the night of the gala, Leela knew that she had to make her move. It was time to stop being the background character in her sister's life. She was tired of watching Daniel from afar. The gala was in full swing. The grand hall was filled with laughter, the clinking of champagne glasses, and the soft hum of a string quartet. Leela made her way through the crowd, the red ribbon in her hair fluttering with each step. She spotted Clara across the room, laughing with a group of guests, her radiant smile dazzling everyone in her path. Clara was everything Leela wasn't: confident, beautiful, effortlessly charming. And she knew it. Leela approached Daniel, who was standing by the punch bowl, looking slightly out of place in the sea of extravagance. His eyes brightened when he saw her. "Leela," he said, his voice warm, "you look beautiful tonight." Leela felt a surge of happiness and something else, something deeper, more dangerous. She was ready to cross the line. "Thank you, Daniel. I was hoping I'd get a chance to speak with you tonight." Daniel smiled, his eyes soft. "Of course. You've been hard to find at these events. Clara tends to steal the spotlight." Leela's stomach twisted at the mention of her sister. "Yeah, she does that," she said, forcing a laugh. "But tonight, I'm hoping to change that." As the night wore on, Leela and Daniel slipped into a quiet corner, away from the crowd. The music seemed distant here, and the air between them felt charged with something more than friendship. The conversation shifted to old memories: school, their childhood, and then eventually, to Clara. "I know you to have always been close," Leela began, her voice soft, almost hesitant. "But things have changed, Daniel." "I've changed?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Leela stepped closer, her breath shallow. "I've always been in the background, you know, the quiet one. But I'm not that girl anymore. I don't want to hide behind Clara anymore. I want to be the one you notice, not her." Daniel blinked, the air between them thick with tension. "Leela." Before he could say more, Clara appeared at the entrance, her eyes immediately locking onto the scene. Her smile faltered for a brief second before it was replaced with the usual effortless charm. "Leela, darling," Clara said sweetly, though her eyes flicked with something sharp. "There you are. I've been looking for you." Leela took a deep breath. "I was just talking with Daniel," she said, her voice steady, though her heart pounded in her chest. "We were reminiscing about old times." Clara's eyes lingered on Leela, and then on Daniel. Her smile didn't reach her eyes this time. "I see. Well, Daniel," she said, turning toward him, "it's good to see you again." I've been meaning to catch up with you. But there was something in her voice, something cold, something calculating. Leela felt it immediately. As Clara stepped closer, Leela couldn't help but notice the way Daniel stiffened. He smiled, but it was strained. The room seemed to shrink as their conversation turned to trivial matters. Clara's laughter filled the air, but it didn't sound genuine. Leela's mind raced, and in that moment, she realized something that had always been there, but she had never seen so clearly before. Clara was playing a game. She wasn't just charming Daniel, she was toying with him. Hours later, after the gala had ended, Leela found herself standing alone on the balcony, staring out into the night. Her thoughts were a whirlwind, her emotions a storm. She had tried to make a move, tried to finally be seen. But in the end, Clara had won, as she always did. Then, a figure appeared beside her. Daniel. I don't know what's going on between you two, he said quietly, but I need to be honest. I came back to town hoping things would be different, but I can't keep pretending. I care about you, Leela, but I never wanted to hurt Clara. Leela's heart dropped, and she suddenly understood. It wasn't just love that Clara had taken from her. It was the game of rivalry that had kept her trapped in the shadows. Daniel wasn't the prize to be won. It was the power of being the one who could have him that Clara had truly claimed. I'm sorry, Leela, Daniel whispered. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. But by then, it was too late. Clara had already claimed her victory, just as she always had. The red ribbon Leela had worn that night fluttered in the breeze. The game wasn't over, but in that moment, Leela understood that she couldn't win. Not like this. Not by playing her sister's game. But one day, perhaps the game would change, and she would be ready.